In this video, we are going to be assembling a Kallax cube shelf. This is from Ikea. I've put together a lot of Ikea projects, and I think this one, although I haven't opened it yet, but just by looking at it, I think this would be a good beginner project in order to get a feel for what it's like to assemble Ikea products. So let's get started. It comes in a rather large box, so I think the first thing to do is carefully cut it open and spread it out so we have a good working surface. So there's a whole stack of boards in here, shelving, and it looks like a lot of these are similar, which is why I think this might be an easy project to start with if this is your first time building with Ikea. First thing I'm going to do is dig through here and try to find the directions. And there it is. So as we open this up, you can see that that's typical instructions. So they just have pictures. Now it usually starts telling you the tools that you need. And the tools here say a slotted screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a pencil, a level, and a hammer. And I have that all right here, with the exception of the level, which I'll get out when I need it. That's a parts list. You might want to just do a parts count. Oftentimes I'll separate them and I'll, for example, put all the screws in a little container and all the dowels in a little container. It just makes it easier for me to find. These are going to be corner brackets. Those are covers that cover the bracket. But you'll see how all of this comes together. Here's my hardware. And inside there you have all the pieces, but like I said, they're all jumbled together. This is not too bad. I may not separate them, but with more complicated projects, I do like to separate out all of the pieces. There aren't a lot of them here, so I'll probably just work out of the bag. We'll start by putting these two pieces together. Be really careful, because sometimes the only way to identify some of the pieces is by where the holes are drilled and how many holes there are. So be really careful about that. Make sure you're identifying the right piece. That's kind of weird, but all that's showing you is how to put the Allen wrench together. So it comes with this, which is pretty much just a handle, and you take your Allen wrench tool and slide it in there, and that's what we're going to use to tighten the screws. This is telling us we'll use 2 of those long screws. We'll take the end piece and screw it onto the long piece using the Allen wrench tool. Now be careful how you put this in, because you can see the hole goes straight through, but this screw, when it goes through, should completely be flush with the surface. So notice that one surface has the beveled hole. That might be referred as a countersunk hole, and that's the one you want to enter from. So we want to align with that pre-drilled hole. So we're going to bring this corner together, and that screw is going to go right through there. I'm going to have to put the camera down in order to put that in. I'll need 2 hands, but that's how we'll be doing it. And we'll be doing the same thing down on that bottom hole. Now I like to get that screw started till it just starts to protrude, and I'll do the same thing with the bottom one down there. That way when I put it together, they'll be ready to just connect the 2 pieces. I had kind of a strange thing happen. When I was trying to screw it together, the screw would not go into here. It just started pushing the other piece of wood away. So what I'm doing is just pre-threading this a little bit. Then I'll take it out, and then I'll attach both pieces again. And then it'll accept the screw because it's been pre-threaded. And here's a hint. Sometimes if you're having trouble getting these in, especially these really long screws, you might get 3/4 of the way through, and then it gets really hard to turn. Sometimes if you spread a little beeswax on to the threads, that lubricates it enough that it goes in a little easier. Just rub it across or spin it on some wax. And there we are, one strong corner complete. Make sure that that is flush, or maybe even slightly below the surface. Don't overdo it though, because that's just pressed wood and you don't want to ruin that thread and strip out the wood inside there. Okay, now we're just going to crisscross for a while with dowels. So the small piece is going to have dowels put in, and then we're going to put a piece across that, just held in place with dowels, and we're going to dowel it together that way. Then we're going to add another small piece, so you're just going to continue to dowel it together. So the dowel is in place, just like that. Gently tap it in with a hammer. Don't go crazy. You don't want to split the wood or split a dowel. And now that's going to be inserted into those holes. And I'm going to tap that from the back with the heel of my hand until it gets seated. All I had to do is press that together, and now that corner is pretty tight. And we'll duplicate that with other pieces, putting dowels in there, and then in there, and just build back. And that piece is going to go next. You can see the dowel. It'll push up, and then we will stick a couple of dowels in from that direction. And we'll continue to build that way. So that corner came together, and now I will dowel into that direction. That was the first shelf that we put in. And here's where we are so far. We're just doing the same thing over and over, putting a piece in that way with 2 pegs, and then that way with 2 pegs. Then we cross over with 2 pegs, and then that way with 2 pegs. Now you may be wondering, do we have to glue these pegs? Well, you can if you want, but you really don't have to, because we're just pinning these together, and the screws on either end, when this all comes together, is going to hold it in really nice and tight. So here's where we are. It's getting kind of dark, so I apologize for the lack of light. But now all we have to do is put dowel rods in all of these ends. So that's the next thing we're going to do. So that's going to take 6 dowels. Once we get that in, we're going to put the other end cap or top or bottom or whatever you want to refer to that as. We will just push that right on to those 6 dowels. All right, so all these dowels are on. Now all we got to do is take this other long piece, line up the 6 dowels, and press that in place. Okay, that wasn't too bad. All I did was kind of pounded with the heel of my fist until we got that all lined up. And now all that's left is to tighten up these end caps. So I'm going to put 2 screws in there, and then we'll move to the other end and put the end cap on that one. I stood this upright because it just made it easier for me to get the leverage to put these end screws in. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to flip this end for end. I just think it'll be easier working down than working sideways. So now, rather than this being the side, I'm working on a surface going downwards. So now I'm going to peg that with a dowel, and this is going to be the screw. We're going to put the top on here, and we'll be done. So here's the top. The first thing I'm going to do is line up the dowels, and then we're simply going to screw it on like we did the other side. There it is. There's the completed piece. But if it's complete, you might be asking yourself, why do I have leftover stuff? Well, if you're going to use it vertically like this, they give that hardware so you can bolt it to the wall so it doesn't tip over. I'm not going to use it that way. I'm going to use it horizontally, so I'm not going to worry about it. But let me show you how that would attach. So you see that there are holes back there, and they will line up with the holes there. And these plastic covers will come off, and you'll attach the metal bracket right there. You will screw it in with these little screws, and then you'll snap the plastic covers in place. So it's white. I know it's really dark here, So it's white. But then on the back side of that, you can bolt that to the wall using these brackets. And then they also give these adhesive felt pads to put on the bottom, whatever the bottom is, so you don't scuff up your floor. And that's all there is to it. It's a relatively easy project to do. It's a good beginner project when you're just getting into IKEA furniture. I like IKEA furniture because it's very affordable, and if you don't have a huge investment, you can actually see how you like something and maybe later on say, hey, let's get a more substantial piece. But I've used IKEA furniture for years and years, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I hope you give it a try. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell icon up above. That way you'll know when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark, and this is the Average Me Channel.